Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Over the years, the zombies community has really shown its appetite for Easter eggs, secrets, ciphers, and mysteries hidden throughout the zombies mode. The lengths that Treyarch have gone to sneak things into the game has always been really impressive, but there are some things that they hid so well, or that they made so cryptic, that they never actually got solved. Today, we're going to take a look at one of those things that seems like it's a very obvious zombies reference, but when you look at the context of it, it leaves you kind of wondering what's going on. We're going to be talking about the man with the red scarf. But before you assume that the man is Dr. Monty, you might be surprised to hear that it's someone else entirely. Someone that was actually put into the game before Monty was even formally introduced. Before we get started, I really quickly want to announce that this Thursday, the 17th of October, I'm going to be doing a meet and greet at EGX, the UK's biggest gaming expo. I'll be at the show the whole day, but specifically between 4 and 5 p.m, I'm dedicating that hour to meeting you guys, taking photos with you, signing things. Anything you want to do in that hour is fair game. So if you want to come along to EGX and see me that day and play hundreds of games early as well, they've genuinely got hundreds of games at EGX, then there's a ticket link in the description down below where you can pick tickets up for yourself. Hopefully I'll see you there. I really want to see as many of you guys as possible. It would be amazing. And I, of course, need to thank Gamer Network for sponsoring this video and bringing me along to the show. All right, cheers. Back during Black Ops 3, there was a data servant added just like we had in Black Ops 1, you might remember. And this one was all done via HTML. You can click through links. You don't have to do it through the command line, and it's a lot more accessible because of that. There are a ridiculous number of articles on that data servant, and I've actually transcribed about 125 of them with a friend of mine, Tak, a couple of years ago. The articles themselves, if there's interest, I could potentially put up on my website, chronorium.com. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd be interested in reading them. But to give you a kind of flavor of the sorts of things that you can find on there, I've cherry-picked a couple of the more interesting ones for us to take a quick look at. The first is MK Ultra, which, if you've been around since the original kind of theorizing days of Black Ops 1, you might recognize as one of the CIA's infamous clandestine research programs specifically focused on mind control. The program was established in the 1950s to develop and research chemical, biological, and radiological materials capable of controlling human behavior. This is really like OG zombie story stuff, but also has very clear overlap with the Black Ops 1 campaign. There are also several other MK projects on the server which you might not have heard of before. For example, MK often was focused on exploring the behavioral and toxicological effects of various drugs on animals and humans. It was considered the successor to MK Ultra, and its initial focus was to develop a series of chemical compounds that could be used on opposition targets. The program was noted as ground zero for the development of Agent 15, or zombie gas, that was used during the first Gulf War in 1990. This compound, sometimes known as EA3167, was an incapacitating agent that induced long-lasting delirium and blocked nerve pathways, impairing muscle control, resulting in a target's zombie-like state. According to documents released around 2007, the program was not only experimenting with chemicals and drugs, but also exploring the inner workings of the human mind. CIA officials were rumored to have recruited clairvoyants, astrologists, mediums, as well as specialists in the occult in an effort to explore the world of black magic and harness the forces of darkness. Sounds like the sort of thing that the CIA really shouldn't be messing with. There's plenty more kind of conspiracy theory fuel on the server as well, relating to MK Delta and MK Naomi, and while we're not going to get into those two in this video, we are going to talk about someone very much wrapped up in a CIA conspiracy theory called, supposedly, Henri-Pierre Fabergé. An article written about Henri-Pierre states that he was a French agriculturalist attributed with discovering evidence about the joint CIA and French clandestine operation known as Project Utter Chaos. Fabergé was a retired dairy farmer and purchased a 100-acre parcel of land near Saint-Fargeau, where he allegedly discovered a buried lockbox filled with classified documents detailing the CIA's efforts to weaponize farm animals. That's what Project Utter Chaos is. When Fabergé found the documents, the story went viral naturally, but the documents never actually made it out into the public until around 2033, when some of the documentation was leaked by the Antwerp-based hacker group known as Dylan in a massive data dump of 60,000 classified documents. We'll come back to hacker groups in just a second, but now I want to quickly talk to you about what might be the true story of Henri Pierre Fabergé. The reason we're going through all this, by the way, is just to give you an idea of the depths of the conspiracy theories that are actually written on this server and just how interconnected everything actually is. If you dig around on the server, you can find an article titled Data Scrape of the Week, The Truth About Henri P. Fabergé. The article outlines some of the previous facts that I just mentioned about Henri, but then goes on to say that it was all actually a lie. Every last bit. French agriculturalist Henri Fabergé was in fact one Maurice Bark, who was a down-on-his-luck industrial kiln operator from Antoing in Belgium. Bark grew up in a one-bedroom house with 6 siblings. He dropped out of school at age 13. He lived paycheck to paycheck. He could never get ahead, and he stumbled into a life of petty crime. He bounced around towns all over Belgium and France, and occasionally got pinched for car theft, burglary, and even arson. According to a source close to Threadcount, the article states, Bark was allegedly recruited by the United States Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, in early 2025. The details are murky, but once in the employ of the CIA, he was allegedly involved in a number of illicit black bag operations in France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. The CIA preferred to hire former criminals for these sorts of things because it gave them plausible deniability. The plan for Maurice to assume the identity of this Henri Fabergé fellow all came from Project Papillon. It would all take place on May 23rd, 2027, and Bark was basically a paycheck player in the whole thing, creating a ridiculous melodrama organized by the CIA. Maurice was supposedly paid $300,000 for all of this, and he actually kept the identity of Henri P. Fabergé as well. Weirdly, this identity ended up actually following him all the way to his grave. Nearly a decade later, still as Henri Fabergé, he ended up careening down a mountain in the French Alps and died on impact. The autopsy revealed he had a blood alcohol level of 0.37%, which normally in a regular person would induce a coma. So what's the deal with this weird ending to the story? Did the CIA and Bark finally break up? Were they tired of keeping him on payroll? Did he know too much about the real operation? We may never know the real story of Maurice Bark, but the truth is out there. Somewhere. That hopefully helps you get a bit of an insight into the fact that on the server, there are not only complete conspiracy theory kind of Black Ops 1 zombies community theorization style posts being made, but there is also your sort of Omnipedia official articles talking about MK Ultra, MK Often, and things like that. There's a real mishmash. Now, the details of Project Utter Chaos, Henri P. Fabergé, the fact that Belgium is involved in this as well, all of this actually interestingly ties in to what you've come to this video and are looking to hear today, which is about the man with the red scarf. There is a Belgian-based hacker collective formed around 2030 when all this Utter Chaos stuff was going on that's listed on the server as Druon or Druon Antigoon. The membership of the organization is unknown, but speculation from various intelligence services estimates it to be between 50 and 100 members, with a mix of grey hat and black hat hackers. All its members are presumably based around Western Europe, with its key leadership likely being based in the city of Antwerp in Belgium. They sprang to notoriety really in 2037, but between the years of 2030 and 2035, they released over 60,000 pages of classified documentation, so they're no small fries here. The most notable of those documents were classified briefings from the joint CIA and French operation known as Project Utter Chaos. So, there's our link to Henri P. Fabergé. The name of the group, Druon Antigoon, was taken from a mythical giant that inhabited ancient Antwerp. According to local legend, the giant charged a hefty toll to cross the river Scheldt. If the toll wasn't paid, the giant would sever the hands of those who refused and threw them into the river below. Pretty nasty stuff. Druon Antigoon are important because they've got some other secret documentation on the server which isn't necessarily super easy to find right away, but is extremely intriguing when you do finally stumble on it. For example, there's what looks like a press release from the group from 2031, which is signed with their signature XXDAXX, which says in French, "No one can pass until they pay the fee," and then in Morse code says the information below is critical to your knowledge. Today will mark our first year anniversary. In celebration of this event, we will release approximately 2,000 pieces of truth, which are most likely the sealed, classified documents that they released in their thousands in that 5-year window. Please enjoy them here. We will return, and then another Morse code message saying, Cordis DA is my one true master. I serve only to expose the truth. Death is not the final chapter. This stuff all sounds like it's linked in with where the story went in Black Ops 2, and more importantly, really, in Black Ops 3. We know that Cordis DA and Menendez and all of the stuff surrounding those kind of players in the story was basically the entire backbone of how the world evolved as we got towards 2050 and 2060 when Black Ops 3's story was taking place. And so it's no surprise, really, that this spooky hacker group would be talking about these sorts of things. However, there is a 404 page which you can find, which is not your standard 404 page by any means, because it starts off saying 404 not found, and then leaves a Morse code message followed by please join us on 090501090603 and signs off with XXDAXX. The Morse message is where we finally get to our bizarre and very confusing link to zombies. It says that the Imperialists have found us. Flee while you can. Go to the city of Walcourt for more information. There you will find a market. Seek out the man with the red scarf and tell him the giant has risen. More information will follow. This is honestly one of the most mysterious aspects of not only the stories of the Black Ops world that Treyarch have been crafting over the years, but also the story of the zombies world too. This was the game where Dr. Monty, with his red scarf, was introduced formally for the first time ever. This was the game where he was given a design. This was the game also towards the end when we had that retrospective look back at the entire kind of DLC season that we'd had at CoD XP, where Jason also confirmed in response to a question that the red scarf that you could find on Origins, on one of the kind of wooden poles, that was also Dr. Monty's scarf. So they thought about the red scarf being significant back during Origins, the final map of Black Ops 2. They'd been clearly planning the story of Black Ops 3, and then we got into Black Ops 3, and there's seemingly a campaign reference to a newly formed zombies character. Now, this could be just a really strange coincidence, right? But they then go on and say, tell the man with the red scarf the giant has risen? That also happens to be one of the kind of textbook lines associated with zombies back in the day. This really takes no explaining. I mean, there's literally a map called The Giant that was originally a map called Deriz. The very first radio that we ever had in zombies mentioned The Giant, Deriz. The map Deriz contains radios talking about the Giant project and its lack of funding. The dang thing just feels like a zombies reference. So they've referenced the scarf, and they've referenced, well, I guess, the giant. Is there anything that we can potentially get from the numbers at the bottom of this page that might give us more of an idea of whether these zombies links can be really fleshed out? Well, if you take all of the zeros out of the string of numbers that I mentioned and just reduce it to the remaining numbers, you get 9/5/1963. It just so happens that this would be September 5th, 1963, also known as the date of birth of Raul Menendez. Menendez is obviously the leader of Cordis DA, and so the fact that Drew and Antigoon were previously making references to Menendez and now they're still doing it with these numbers is fair enough. It's a little weird that they're saying join us on this day. Like, this is not going to be a message that would have been before 1963, so it's a little strange. And it also doesn't really give us anything more to go on about this whole man with a red scarf, the giant business. The first part of the message is a little weird too. The Imperialists have found us? What exactly do they mean by that? Flee while you can, go to the city of Walcourt, which is in Belgium, by the way, and there you'll find the market with the man with the red scarf? I actually remember being, funnily enough, in Jason Blundell's car at one point several years ago, and I was telling him about being curious about this weird little thing that was on the server, and I said to him, you know, Jason, what I would really love to do is just fly myself to Belgium one day, go to Walcourt, find your damn market, and just see, just on the off chance just on the possibility, just see if they've planted someone there wearing a red scarf, like holding a briefcase or something, that could be essentially like a mirror image to the GK Nova 6 drop that the zombies and campaign community got way back in the day for Black Ops 1. I think that it would have just been the coolest damn thing in the world, and obviously it's a pipe dream. I don't expect 4 years after Black Ops 3 came out, them to have an actual dude in a red scarf stationed at this market every Sunday or something, waiting for someone to turn up and say the giant has risen. I don't think that that's going to happen, but I just love the mystery of it. I love the mystique, and it really piques my curiosity that there are zombies references in here, or they are at least trying to make zombies references in here in a context that normally wouldn't have any references like this whatsoever. There is only ever one thing you're going to think of when you see red scarf, and it's Monty. There is only one thing that you're going to think of when you read the giant has risen, and it's zombies. And that's why I wanted to make a video today talking about the man with the red scarf and the unsolved mystery of what's going on in Walcourt and why Treyarch gave us this information in the first place on a 404 page of the data servant. I think I'll share one final theory about all this. Is there a possibility that in a weird way, Treyarch are actually breaking the fourth wall a little here, and they're basically saying that zombies as a mode, as a story, as a narrative, is something that this hacker group somehow know about, and so they are essentially plucking references from fiction, just like the name Drawn Antigoon was plucked from myth surrounding Antwerp. Could they be making similar references, similar mythological references to stuff in zombies? Is it maybe just a code word that they've got from zombies and that they're using for something else? It's the sort of thing that I would imagine a hacker group to do, and it's an interesting one to turn over in your mind, the idea that they might know about zombies as a thing. It's all very strange. Let me know in the comments down below. Would you like to learn more about the data servant and the secrets that it holds? Do you have any theories about whether this is just a reference and not actually meant to be anything serious, or if it is actually a bigger deal and there is a bigger mystery here waiting to be uncovered? Whatever you're thinking, leave a comment and let me know. And if you've got any particular mysteries that you'd like me to cover next for another episode of Zombies Unsolved, vote up the good suggestions and I'll get onto it as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. I've been MrRoflWaffles. Keep hunting, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.